Welcome committee members, liaisons, and members of the public to the Legal Services Trust Fund's Homelessness Prevention Funds Committee meeting. Thank you for joining us. We are using Zoom with the goal to foster a more inclusive environment and effective meeting. If you would like to comment during the meeting, please use the raise hand feature. Please utilize this tool to virtually indicate that you would like to speak in order to help the chair facilitate the discussion. A friendly reminder that this is a video conference and to please be aware of your surroundings behind you. All Legal Services Trust Fund Commission and committee meetings will be recorded and posted to the State Bar website. Zoom captioning is available. To enable, select live transcript at the bottom of your Zoom screen, then select enable audio transcription.
Thanks, Alexa. Jim, would you like to call the meeting to order?
Sure. So call to order and we're recording. So if you could go ahead and call the roll.
Okay, let me pull that up. Oklagi. Iskin.
Here.
Mahoney.
Here.
Schreiber.
Here.
And Meeker.
Here.
We have quorum.
Great. Well, let's go on to approval. Well, do we have any public comment, I guess?
There's one person with their hand raised.
Okay. Who's that?
Good afternoon. This is Reverend Frank. I don't know if you guys have heard me before complain about some corruption at the California State Bar, but I've got a new one for you. If you guys look on your own website underneath your meeting recordings, you're going to find that in 2020, there are 9 meetings listed for an executive director search committee to replace Leah Wilson as your executive director when she quit in January of that year. The problem is, if you go to the meetings and you look at the dates, and then you go to the recordings, you will find that all 9 of those meetings have absolutely no recording tied to them whatsoever. Leah's been made aware of this over the last 2 weeks, and so far these meetings just cannot be found. Have you guys heard anything on the back end as to what's going on or why these meetings are missing? Because they're all about Leah's replacement, which surprisingly turns out to be Leah. So I'm not exactly sure how you can quit a job and come back 15 months later and be the star of the show when you quit a job that was a damn good job. So does anybody want to look at those meetings and verify that they can't find them? You guys want to pull up the website and do a search on the meetings for 2020? No,
Well, Reverend Frank, I don't think we really have time to do that during this meeting, and it's beyond our scope, but thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Yeah, you guys are going to need to have an investigation by the Supreme Court opened up, and somebody's going to have to pay to figure out whether if those meetings, and in my opinion, James, they were forged. I think they put those into the system after January or February of 2021 to cover the fact that Donna Hershkowitz didn't do anything to find a replacement, and Leah had to find a way for her to be able to come back in without looking like, wait a minute, you guys haven't had a meeting for a year? So I think somebody better start an investigation into that, and I will be talking to you guys tomorrow. That's all I got to say for today.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have anyone else, Kimberly?
Figuring out what she's done.
Any other comments?
No.
Well,
Jim,
just check out the whole thing. You can read on VanessaHolton.com. I have complete documentation where Vanessa actually had the San Rafael Police Department alter a filed police report.
Okay, Reverend Frank, you've had over your 2 minutes. We're going to have to cut you off now.
It's okay. You'll be coming back. We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay. Any other public comment?
There's one other person.
Okay.
Really, I'm so sorry. Really quickly, I forgot to take the attendance for our liaisons and staff. Can I do that really quickly? I'm so sorry.
Sure.
Okay, so first for our liaisons, I see Laura Brown from Judicial Council. Do we have any other liaisons who are present? Okay. And then from State Bar staff, besides myself, we have Rocio Avalos, Alexa Montalvo, Kimberly Wormsley, and Shannon Crosley. Is there anyone else? Okay, again, my apologies. Thank you. Oh, and I
Okay.
see Zach Newman from LAC has joined us.
Okay, so I'll allow, there's one more person, I'll allow them to talk.
Okay.
Oh, hello, good afternoon. My name's Krista Alderson, Eviction Defense Collaborative. I signed up to make public comment, but I don't know if this is the right time. It's about our proposed change to deliverables.
Well, if you can stay on during the meeting, we'd be more than happy to have you come back when that comes up on the agenda.
Thank you.
Okay, so can we go to, let's see, approve the minutes then? Any comments on the minutes?
So moved.
Okay. All second?
I can second.
Okay, if we could take a vote, Jennifer? You're on mute.
My apologies. Okay. Aklagi. Iskin.
Yes.
Mahoney.
Yes.
Schreiber.
Yep.
Meeker.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay, so that brings us to point 4. We got updates on HP3 and 4 grant administration.
Okay, I will share my screen. All right, so this is an update on HP3 and 4 grant administration. My name is Jennifer Zelnick. I'm a senior program analyst in the Office of Access and Inclusion. So as mentioned in July, each year, HP3 grant recipients must submit an annual evaluation. And this year, the reporting period was July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023. Staff are currently finalizing the draft of the annual HP3 report, which will be submitted tomorrow to the Judicial Council in draft form. This report will ultimately be filed with the Department of Finance. Staff are also currently cleaning and analyzing all HP4 initial data that was submitted for the first 6 months of that grant, and staff will submit a draft of that report to the Judicial Council on October 1st, 2023. While analyzing the data for the HP3 and 4 annual reports, staff found that Disability Rights Legal Center, or DRLC, submitted late and incomplete evaluations. Staff worked with DRLC to ensure that its data was completed and accurate for the annual reports. This involved providing technical assistance to DRLC to ensure that it understood that it should only report on closed cases, whereas both its HP3 and 4 data collection tools originally included both open and closed cases. Staff will continue to work with DRLC to ensure that it understands all reporting requirements moving forward. And now actually we're going to move into some budget revisions. So first, I want to review the process. For grants that have a budget revision that is less than 10% of the total award amount, those are considered self-executing for approval. Those between 10 and 25% can be approved by staff, and those that are greater than or equal to 25% require commission approval. So that's the overall process. So I'm sorry, first, before we get into HP2 budget revisions, we actually have one from HP4. So For the HP4 grant, revision requests were accepted on a rolling basis. We received one such request that is between 10 to 25%, and that was from Inner City Law Center. They requested a revision that was equal to 19.1% and was approved by staff. Briefly, they requested to increase the funds for attorneys and paralegals while decreasing funds spent on line items such as space, printing and postage, and administration. So now on to HP2 formula. Again, revision requests were accepted on a rolling basis, and we received 5 such requests, one of which was under 10% and 4 of which were between 10 and 25%. And just as a note, one request submitted by Greater Bakersfield Legal Assistance is missing a budget revision rationale. So staff will continue to work with GBLA before approving their budget revision request. And here's a little bit more information on those requests. You'll see that we have affordable housing advocates at 9.4%, which again was self-approving. And then the 4 revision requests that were either staff approved or pending staff approval in the case of Greater Bakersfield Legal Assistance. So the 3 that were approved by staff were from Elder Law and Advocacy, Legal Aid Society of San Diego, and California Women's Law Center. And again, those were all between 10 and 25%. Affordable housing advocates increased funds for litigation and slightly decreased funds for attorney salaries, telecommunications, technology, and library. Elder Law and Advocacy decreased funds for attorneys and litigation, while they increased funds for line items such as equipment rental and maintenance, telecommunications, technology, and other staff. LASSD decreased funds for attorneys and other staff, increased funds for paralegals. There were also some increases in line items such as technology, program travel, and telecommunications, and decreases in others such as office supplies and litigation. CWLC, or California Women's Law Center, decreased funds for attorneys and increased funds for other staff. Line item changes included increasing equipment rental and maintenance and decreasing litigation and technology. And again, staff review all budget revision requests that are received, even those that are self-approving, to make sure that things like personnel and program percentages remain at or above the 75% threshold, to make sure all revisions are allowable. Any questions so far? Okay. Next, we have HP2 competitive grants. We received one such request. It was for under 10%. That was from Public Interest Law Project. And again, that was self-approving, but the gist of that budget revision was to decrease attorney funds and increase funds for paralegals. Additionally, Public Interest Law Project increased line items such as office supplies, telecommunications, and litigation. Okay. And now we'll move to updates on HP3 budget revisions. We had one such revision, and that is from California Rural Legal Assistance Foundation. Any questions? I believe there was someone who wanted to make a public comment. Okay. All right, any questions from the committee? Okay. So this next agenda item is 5.1. It is action on Coalition of California Welfare Rights Organizations 2021 to 2023 Homelessness Prevention Formula and 2021 to 2024 Homelessness Prevention Formula. I'm sorry, that should say Homelessness Prevention Formula Awards. Yes, that's correct. Okay. So today we'll review some irregularities with CCWRO's HP2 and 3 grants, some steps taken to address these. We'll review submitted and overdue deliverables, staff preliminary recommendations, and next steps. Okay, so there were some irregularities with CCWRO's HP2 and 3 grants. State Bar staff discovered these irregularities through a combination of factors, reviewing all HP2 grant deliverables for all grantees, reviewing CCWRO's HP3 formula desk review, and CCWRO's 2023 monitoring visit. Staff identified the following issues. CCWRO failed to segregate activities and expenditures for its HP2 and 3 formula awards. It failed to track actual expenditures by grant. It reported and potentially double counted the same work for both grants. And it reported and expended funds on non-qualifying work for both grants related to care court activities that are not related to homelessness prevention services. Any questions so far? Okay, and very briefly, the non-qualifying work was a care court.
Jennifer, I had a question, just
Sure.
for context. How much was their HP2 formula grant and how much were their HP2 formula and HP3 formula grants?
Altogether, it was about $600,000. The HP3 was in the $400,000 range, and HP2 was less than around 200,000. And I can pull those, but I don't have them off the top of my head. I'm sorry about that. So really quickly, the non-qualifying work was a care court guide about defending respondents' procedural rights. This was submitted both as part of their HP3 and HP2 activities, and then a care court amicus letter related to another grantee's care court litigation, and that was submitted for HP2.
Wait, has the care court even started yet?
No, it hasn't. That is a good point. The issue, go ahead.
If I could add, this is a fairly small support center. And basically what they were doing, on my understanding of the care court stuff, was to write out some sort of information guidelines for those who are actually going to do the care court stuff.
Okay.
That's correct. That was the guide that they were creating. Okay. So next we'll look at some steps taken to address the HP2 and 3 irregularities. The memo provides, excuse me, a detailed sequence of events related to these irregularities. Specifically, it outlines CCWRO's corrective action plan, or CAP, which resulted from its HP3 formula desk review, staff's technical assistance related to CCWRO's non-qualifying work completed with its HP2 and 3 grants, and CCWRO's eligibility review conference and the resolutions passed by the Eligibility and Budget Review Committee. So really quickly, just to review that, in relation to the HP3 desk audit, on May 31st, staff issued its findings for CCWRO's HP3 desk review. Staff requested CCWRO respond with a corrective action plan by June 30th. In terms of non-qualifying work, on May 24, staff met with CCWRO to discuss concerns that some work CCWRO completed with HP2 and 3 formula funds were non-qualifying, and informed CCWRO that they needed to deduct non-qualifying activities retroactively from their respective grants. In terms of the Eligibility Review Conference, on July 25th, the EBR committee held an eligibility review conference with CCWRO to discuss internal controls concerns, including issues with its HP2 and 3 formula grants. This is a review of submitted and overdue deliverables. First, we have documentation separating CCWRO's HP2 and 3 expenditures, which was due on July 31st. This is overdue. CCWRO now promises to submit by September 6th. Next, we have retroactive timesheets for CCWRO's HP3 expenditures from January 1st, 2022 through July 31st, 2023. This was submitted on August 15th, which was the due date. However, CCWRO revised one employee's timesheets on August 23rd, 2023. And then lastly, we have a breakdown of non-qualifying expenditures completed with CCWRO's HP2 and 3 grants. This was due on August 15th. They submitted documentation related to this on August 15. However, confirmation and submission for HP2 was due on August 25th, and that is now overdue. I wanted to note also that today CCWRO submitted additional documentation at 11:45 a.m. Staff was obviously not able to review those materials prior to this meeting, but will do so shortly. And at first glance, the materials submitted appear to include HP2 statements of activity and HP3 statements of activity for the 2022 calendar year, as well as separate HP2 and HP3 general ledgers for the 2022 year as well. Any questions at this point? Jim.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, since I'm on eligibility and budget review, I was on that committee that worked with them. And my impression is, again, they're a small support center. In their past history, they basically got just IOLTA and EAF formula grant money. And then all of a sudden they got formula grants for HP2 and 3, which was really beyond their ability to control because their in-house accounting staff was really a part-time bookkeeper. They just weren't really able to handle the money, which brings up an issue that eligibility and budget has been dealing with. I would like to argue that we should support in that the normal course of things, that if there was money left over that we could be reallocated, we would be making, first we would have to come up with that proposal, then we would have to submit that to the commission as a whole in order to approve it, which creates all sorts of delays, which essentially in this case will mean the money will have to go back to the feds on the HP3. I've been arguing very strongly that these kinds of budget decisions ought to be done at the subcommittee level. We're the ones that are dealing with these grantees. We're the ones that have more experience with what people are doing with the HP grants. I don't see why it should go to the entire commission. I think the entire commission should be spending more time on policy questions. And again, I'm just raising this because at some point you guys will be voting on that. And I just want to put a plug in that I think that the subcommittee should have more discretion on these budget approvals, and it shouldn't have to go to the entire commission. So much for my soapbox.
Thanks, Jim. Eric?
Yeah, I mean, Jim, I think what you say makes a lot of sense, but I mean, are we at the point with this organization where we're going to be clawing back or recommending that money be clawed back?
That's my understanding.
Is that where we're going here?
I think that that's a potentiality. That is not what's happening today.
But the point being, if that's the case, if they can't spend down to HP, our timeline, the way the commission works, needing approval by the entire commission, it just would not be able to do it. The money would have to go back to the feds.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense, at least perhaps up to a certain threshold amount of money. Maybe if it goes over a certain threshold, it ought to go to the commission. I don't know. But I had another question. So this organization, Jim, you're identifying some structural issues with their ability to handle the accounting. Is that something that we could have looked at on the front end? Because I know for competitive grants, one of the things we look at is the ability of the organization to administer the project effectively. And if they can't, we don't give them the money. Is that, I guess that's not possible here. These are formula grants, right?
That's correct.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Although I did make the suggestion that they ought to recruit somebody with an accounting background for the board of directors. They said that they were going to do that. They also said they were going to hire a more permanent part-time bookkeeper, but who knows what they're going to do.
Well, I see actually that Kevin, who is the executive director, has his hand raised.
You'd be able to talk now.
You hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, how about that? Good afternoon. First of all, this has been a struggle, as everybody knows, with the pandemic. When we met with the staff the first time, we were assured that we're not the only one who's having these kinds of problems. Many other organizations are having similar problems. The reason that we were not due on August 15, where we were supposed to have the HP ledger and HP3 and HP2 ledgers, is because the accountant who did it on July 1, she just simply created 2 ledgers. She never populated it because I guess it wasn't made clear to her that she had to populate it. And by the time when we figured this out, she got sick and she had some kind of operation. So instead, we've retained another person who we signed a contract with her that we send to staff. And I'm not sure, that was signed about 2 weeks ago. And she's already done populated and migrated all for 2022. And by September 6th, we're going to have 2023 done. And we did tell staff that that's the reason that it was late, is because the accountant that we're relying on, she conked out, so we found somebody else. And we had to go and interview 2-3 people before we landed on the person that we have now. And I'm not sure, from my understanding of the agenda that I looked at, is we're being asked for return 2022 and spend money, and 2023 and spent money. I always thought that we had this carryover system. That's how the IOTA has always functioned. In fact, I've been told that this is a 3-year allocation, so you could use it in different years. I was expressly told that that could be done. And in reliance on that, we exercise some discretion. But we can't spend the money because the need is immense out there. Thank you.
Are there other questions from the committee on this slide, Jim?
Just a quick comment. Yeah, and that again is, you're dealing with the smaller organizations. You're dealing with funds that they're not used to dealing with. Like the HP3 funds are federal dollars. They're from a COVID distribution, and there is no such thing as a carryover. It has to be done within the grant period. So, which is different, not what programs are used to, but it is a source of confusion.
Thank you, Jim. That's helpful clarification. All right, moving along. So next we have some preliminary recommendations that were outlined in the memo. These are pending additional responses from CCWRO. Staff will take the following steps as appropriate. Require CCWRO to correct its allocation worksheet to align with actual costs for its HP2 and/or HP3 formula grants. Require CCWRO to adjust future reporting to reconcile total costs and deliverables for its HP2 and/or HP3 formula grants. Report to the Judicial Council about discrepancies between CCWRO's HP3 quarterly and annual reports and its actual services and expenditures, and require CCWRO to revise its second annual HP2 evaluation for the reporting period January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022 to accurately reflect its services and expenditures by September 22nd, 2023. Any questions about this? And go ahead, Eric.
When does the HP3 money have to be spent by?
December 31st, 2024.
So I want to connect the dots here. I'm getting muddled in all these details. I apologize, but
Sure.
did we just have, I may even be getting my subcommittees mixed up. Did we just have a proposal in this committee regarding reallocation of HP3, unspent HP3 monies?
Yes, we did. And the staff are working right now to get that process going. The way that it was left at the last Legal Services Trust Fund Commission meeting was that the commission delegated authority to the HP Funds Committee. So staff will present its final recommendations on October 20th of this year for the committee to approve those awards.
But did CCRW, and I think they were supposed to advise us of any unspent funds, what, by August 15th or something like that?
Yes. They were supposed to, organizations were supposed to do that as part of their HP3 annual evaluation this year, and they did not report any unspent funds.
Okay. So, well, did CCRW report unspent funds?
No, CCWRO did not report any unspent
CCWRO.
funds.
Would it be helpful, Jennifer, maybe to kind of recap? I know you gave a background of where things are today with CCWRO, and this slide shows what staff would need to do as a next step, just to follow up on the items that for errors in reports or clarifications, just in terms of general grant administration processes. There are tentative recommendations, I think, that Jennifer has prepared to give the committee kind of food for thought while we expect to receive or finish analyzing the missing information or the late information to help rectify some of these irregularities or issues that we found in their existing expenditures and data reporting. So maybe if we kind of switch to that, that'll help give a better picture of where we're heading with this.
Yes, I'm happy to do that. But Jim, a member of CCWRO's staff has their hand raised. Would you like them to be able to make a public comment?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Cool. My name is Andrew Chen. I am the Homelessness and Housing Staff Attorney at CCWRO. I just wanted to clarify that as far as reporting recommendations from, California Bar staff are concerned, for me in particular, now that the structure of the grants has been clarified, like I am used to, from prior experience, used to working with more subject-specific grants and allocating hours appropriately. So, just to assuage the bar's concerns on that front, like that's something that I'm used to doing and will have no problem transitioning to in the future.
Thank you, Andrew. Okay, so maybe now we can shift to the preliminary recommendations unless there are further questions about this slide. Okay. Okay, so staff recommend requiring, oh, I'm so sorry. Jim, we have another raised hand from Kevin from CCWRO. Would you like to enable him to make another public comment?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so I just want to say that we are now using Clockify, so we are tracking all our time for HP3, HP2, and EF and IOTA 2. So we just want to make sure that the commission understands that we've taken remedial steps and that is no longer an issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so staff will recommend requiring one or more of the following, depending on whether CCWRO submits its outstanding deliverables by September 6, 2023, and whether the materials submitted satisfy all outstanding questions detailed in this presentation. These recommendations include requiring staff to inform CCWRO's Board of Directors about the committee's findings, requiring CCWRO to return some or all of its funds from its HP3 grant from December 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2023, which is year 1 and the first half of year 2, requiring CCWRO to submit a spend down plan for its HP3 funding from August 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2024 to staff by October 1st of this year. And if the committee and commission do not find CCWRO's spend down acceptable, it must return and forfeit its HP3 funds for the remainder of the grant period, which would be year 3. Staff also recommend that CCWRO be required to return some or all of its HP2 funding from year 2, which is January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022. We may recommend that CCWRO be required to return some or all of its HP2 funding from the first half of year 3, which would be January 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2023, and requiring CCWRO to submit a spend down plan for its HP2 funding from August 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2023, again, submitting this to staff by October 1st. And again, if the committee and commission do not find the spend down plan acceptable, it must return its HP2 funds for the remainder of the grant period. Any questions about this? If not, I can move on to next. Yes.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure. So there's, I mean, how I'm organizing it in my own head. So there is an issue of spending down. There's also an issue of how the spend downs and the spending is memorialized in terms of which grants.
Mm-hmm.
Those two separate issues seem to me to be both discrete and distinct for this committee and potentially the full commission's consideration. And it seems like the CEO that was, or the ED that was speaking before, was addressing sort of one of the buckets, which is the sort of record keeping bucket. Do we have a sense? I mean, we obviously understand and know the various staffing issues, but do we have a sense of the other bucket, staffing and use of the funds?
Sure. So CCWRO has submitted retroactive timesheets for its HP3 grant, which staff has preliminarily reviewed, but staff cannot fully analyze those documents until the rest of the outstanding deliverables are received.
So I guess, so potentially then the spend down portion may, depending on what the records show, may show use of the funds. So that may be a
Correct.
lesser issue. Okay, that's helpful. Thanks.
No problem. So I think it might be helpful if I go to the next slide, which has next steps. And basically, after September 6th, staff will review all of CCWRO's HP3 cap deliverables. If applicable, CCWRO will revise its second annual HP2 evaluation to accurately reflect its services and expenditures by September 22nd. If applicable, CCWRO will submit spend down plans for its HP2 and or HP3 formula grants by October 1st for staff's review. And staff will present its recommendations to the committee on October 20th and to the commission on November 9th. Now, staff does have a proposed resolution related to requesting Coalition of California Welfare Rights Organizations submitting these spend down plans, if that is something that the committee would like to entertain.
Could I ask, how much is potentially at issue here? Is it the entirety of the HP2 and HP3 grants, or just some portion that maybe has not been spent?
I think that remains to be seen. Obviously the committee will need to make a decision based on staff's findings once we review all of the materials by September 6th. If I think in an absolute worst case scenario, if documents were still missing, or things didn't add up, we might be having a conversation about more or potentially all of the grants if that was the direction that the committee wished to go down. If CCWRO didn't submit satisfactory spend down plans as well. But obviously also it's possible that this conversation could be one where the committee discusses requiring CCWRO to return only unspent funds and continue to spend down the grant moving forward.
There would also be the option of if satisfied with
Yes.
everything, that it's the then result is they've provided sufficient or they've corrected for the initial findings that raised these concerns. And I think just to kind of recap on that ends that into Jim's point earlier about how this ties back to EBR, Eligibility Budget Review Committee, how there were concerns in reviewing initially how some of these concerns were elevated is in reviewing HP2 and 3 reports, deliverables, the desk audit of the HP3 grant, and then also at the same time the regular monitoring visit that happens every 3 years for CCWRO, and concerns were elevated about general internal controls, including tracking expenditures as required for the different grants, and in particular the federal HP3 monies. And so since then, as you've heard, and Kevin from CCWRO mentioned, they have taken steps to correct for some of those for those issues, and pending some of the final items that were required as part of the corrective action plan for the desk audit for HP3 and findings of the monitoring visit that are since late. At this point, there should have been kind of a complete staff analysis and a recommendation for you, but it's piecemeal given that things are late and we're still completing that analysis. So wanting to keep the committee informed and offering kind of options, giving you a sense of where this could potentially lead once that analysis is complete at the next meeting. So I don't know if that helps at all, but just wanted to kind of recap.
Thank you. I think that was very helpful. So just in terms of next steps, again, staff do have a proposed resolution to require CCWRO to submit spend down plans. I'm happy to share that if that feels appropriate to the committee. Yeah.
And that would be if the committee feels that would be helpful, and then making a final determination once staff is able to complete analysis and share the findings and the recommendation at the October meeting.
Yes.
If that would be helpful, then the resolution would require that, and we would work with CCWRO to get that information for you to review as part of overall all the documentation for the October decision.
Yeah, can we see the resolution?
Definitely. So it reads, should the committee concur with staff's proposal? Passage, oh, I'm so sorry. Jim, before we do that, Kevin has raised his hand again. Would you like to
Sure.
entertain that?
Sure.
Thank you.
I have to unmute myself again. Now you could hear me. Thank you. I guess we have no problem with submitting a spend down plan. We just want, and I hope we can work with staff so they could explain. I have no idea what is acceptable. I think what is acceptable is work that you do in running the HP3 and the HP2. So that's my only concern. I mean, sometimes, and I'm a welfare advocate, and I deal with the system and the way they talk about acceptable, but they never defined acceptable. But we have no problem with doing a spend down plan. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. If I may, I'll just say that, of course, staff would work with CCWRO to make sure that it understood the parameters and what was required. So returning to the proposed resolution, should the committee concur with staff's proposal, passage of the following resolution is recommended. Resolved that the Legal Services Trust Fund Commission Homelessness Prevention Funds Committee approves requiring Coalition of California Welfare Rights Organizations to submit a spend down plan for its 2021 to 2023 homelessness prevention HP2 formula funding from August 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2023 to staff by October 1st, 2023. And it is further resolved that the committee approves requiring CCWRO to submit a spend down plan for its 2021 to 2024 homelessness prevention or HP3 formula funding from August 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2024 to staff by October 1st, 2023.
I mean, my only comment, I mean, it seems reasonable, but I'm just wondering, and I'll probably vote for it, but I'm just wondering why we even need a resolution. Can't staff just require the submission of these plans?
Well, I think it's,
Of the grant. I'm sorry, Jen.
I was just going to say, as a matter of form, I think it sounds better coming from the committee rather than staff on its own.
Since it's not part of a requirement of the grant itself, this would be an added deliverable. And it was,
I'm sorry, Rocio, go ahead.
no, go for it.
I was just going to let Jim know that Kevin has raised his hand again. I'm not sure if you want to entertain that.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So the way I read this, committee approves requiring us to submit a spend down plan. Is that the carryover money? That how we're going to spend the carryover money? Is that what the idea is for the second resolution?
No, that's the HP3 formula grant. That was the 3-year funding grant period. So that's spinning it down by the end of the grant period. It can't carry forward. That HP3 are federal funds. There is no carry forward for federal funds.
Doesn't the first one say that we have to provide a spend down plan from August 1, 2023 to the end? And then over here, I'm not sure, what is the difference between the first one and the second one?
They're two different grants.
They're two different grants.
Okay,
HP2 ends at the end of 2023. HP3 is a different grant, ends at 2024.
Yeah, I apologize. Sorry. The younger you get, the more you learn, okay?
Okay. So any more discussions on the resolutions? Eric, any other questions?
Nope.
Nope. Well, can we have a vote then? Oh, I guess what we need a motion and a second, right? Do we have I'll make the motion. Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Aklagi. Iskin.
Yes.
Mahoney.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Tammy, can you?
Yes.
Thank you. Schreiber.
Yep.
Meeker.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries. All right. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 5.2, which is action on 2021 to 2023 homelessness prevention or HP2 deliverable revisions. We received one deliverable revision request from Eviction Defense Collaborative. They requested revising their HP2 formula deliverables from 5,000 clients served per year to 27 total cases for the entire grant period. I know that this sounds like a drastic change, but I think their explanation provides a lot of necessary context. And these are some excerpts. The grant partially funds salary and fringe costs for an attorney for $16,667 per year, according to the City of San Francisco's Tenant Right to Counsel program's prescribed case volume. A TRC attorney manages 50 full scope representation cases per year. By this standard, the HP2 grant funds the attorney's salary portion for 9 full scope representation cases per year, or 27 total cases for the entire grant period. We propose this number as the deliverable target. The cost here does not include all the additional expenses incurred to actually deliver these cases, including salaries for paralegals, legal assistants, intake and case management staff, supervising attorneys, as well as the direct costs associated with the cases. The prescribed total cost to fund 27 full scope representation as per San Francisco's Tenant Right to Counsel program is nearly 3.5 times the $500,000 HP2 grant. Are there any questions about this? I do believe that someone from EDC said that they were here earlier to give public comment. I don't know that if they've raised their hand now.
Yes, hold on a second. I'll allow them to talk.
Oh, sorry, Jim. Let me
Yeah.
ask Jim.
Sure, sure.
Would you? Okay, thank you. Thanks, Kim.
Hello, this is Krista Alderson, Interim Executive Director at Eviction Defense Collaborative. May I speak to this issue now?
Sure.
Thank you. As was noted, well, first to back up, this was the first time EDC had applied for 8 HP grants. And in the past, our experience with applications was really the LSP grant, for which you receive funding for, all of your legal services. And that is why we entered 5,000 clients per year, because we were following that old model. So we do apologize for that confusion. As was noted, the funding on this grant partially funds salary and fringe costs for an attorney in the amount of $16,667 per year, which is 18% of their annual payroll cost. According to the funding model that we use for the San Francisco Tenant Right to Counsel program, one tenant right to counsel attorney manages 50 full scope rep cases per year. So if we apply this funding proportionally by this standard, the HP grant funds the attorney's salary portion for 9 full scope representation cases per year, or a total of 27 cases for the entire grant period. And that is why we are proposing this change in deliverable target.
Krista, was this a formula grant or was this a discretionary grant?
This is a formula grant.
Okay.
It's a 3-year grant totaling $50,000 split over 3 years, and we received $16,667 a year. So it's we appreciate every dollar, but relatively speaking, it's a small amount of money every year, and we scoped the as I said, we scoped the deliverables incorrectly because we were following the model of the LSP grant, where you submit, your full budget and the full number of people you serve every year. I didn't write this grant, but I understand why the person did it that way. So I apologize for having to put you through this request, but we want to right size the deliverables to match the actual amount of funding.
Any other questions or comments from the committee?
Is the formula for divvying up the pie based upon the number of clients that are expected to be served?
So the formula is done in a similar way to the IELTA EAF formulas. So it would be based on a number of factors that, would include, first of all, because organizations still need to submit an application, it's based on how many organizations apply. And then again, the pro rata calculation that is used in the same way as for the IELTA EAF. So if your question is, would they have received a different award amount if they had applied? The answer is no. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Jennifer. I thought you were done. Go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry. Thank you. So I would just say that staff fully recognizes that the deliverables originally proposed 5,000 clients for this amount of funding is just impossible. And staff supports this revision.
Am I good to go, Jim?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I guess my question is more on the front end.
Sure.
About 5,000. Maybe I just didn't understand the description of that. Like the thinking when that first went in, that number.
Are you asking Krista, perhaps?
Yeah, it might be a Krista question, but it's ultimately a committee / staff question as to like that number not sort of standing out to us.
I can speak to that.
Yeah, thanks.
That number comes from the service volume across all of our programs pre-COVID. So that's our litigation, legal clinic, rental assistance, and shelter advocacy programs pre-pandemic. And that is how, when you submit your LSP grant, you're usually talking about the full number of clients that you serve across all your different legal service programs.
Okay. I see.
That was the model that we used in error to draft this grant, which is much more restricted and should have been prepared in a different way.
And just for clarification, I think the LSP that's referring to the IELTA grant.
Right. I think you basically had to say that same thing twice just to get through. So I'm sorry that I made
No
you
worries.
repeat yourself. I was just trying to remember whether when we read through the grant request, whether we were reading it in that way as well in that particular section of the application. Because obviously that's a big difference. So I understand your like what you were thinking on in filling out the grant, but I'm wondering if staff has any thought about how might we have noticed that or sought clarification sort of on the front end so
I don't think you'd see it on the front end because this is a formula grant. This only shows up when we ask for the grant's deliverable at the end. How many clients did you represent?
I think if the question is when 5,000 clients was proposed, why we didn't question it, I think there's a few things to keep in mind with the big caveat that I was not at OANI at the time. But I would imagine that, first of all, we never want to, while we want to make sure that everything is reasonable, I think there's a fine line between making sure something is reasonable and asking grantees to potentially underestimate. I think also it's possible it was just missed on our side, and this is a good note moving forward for staff to do another pass to make sure that the amount of deliverables seem reasonably balanced given the amount of funding.
Okay.
But for formula grants, though, do we really even have any discretion? I mean, if we think somebody has an unreasonable number for deliverables, I mean, what do we do about that?
I mean, I have my own thought on that, Eric, is like, I think whether we can do anything, quote unquote, it's an important baseline for us to see sort of how expensive, a single case is. Like these numbers are actually quite illuminating to me. Yeah, it's shocking is overstating it, but it's really, I mean, it puts in black and white what we don't necessarily see on the front end.
Mhm.
Which so I want to sort of appreciate Krista's comments there.
Speaking of which, Jim, Krista actually has her hand raised. I'm not sure if you'd like to allow her
Sure.
to speak again.
Sure.
Thanks.
Thank you. So to your point, again, we're using these metrics that the mayor's office has come up with for the cost of eviction defense cases within the tenant right to counsel system. So it's $6,300 per case if you drill down further. We did not develop that number ourselves. Again, that comes from our funder at MOHCD, but that is the metric we're using. I would say again, I didn't write the grant, and so I can understand why somebody drafted it this way if they've never done a formula grant before. So we do apologize, and I'm not sure if there's any more information we can provide about right sizing it. I guess my question is, does the logic make sense if you're looking at less than $17,000 a year towards an attorney's salary? I know, Jennifer, you said the staff are in support of this.
Just my comment, Christian, is that 27 cases for $50,000 comes down to $1,851.85 a case, and that's not including the paralegal and other support help. That doesn't seem like a whole lot.
No, I don't. I think it's kind of a value neutral comment that I'm making. It's just sort of, it's sort of an interesting presentation of the numbers, which is not necessarily what we get, not only in the formula grants, but also in all our grants. I mean, I guess I'd find it really useful. I mean, I'm not saying it's expensive or cheap. I'm saying it's a useful metric and one that we don't actually see very regularly or in this manner, which is sort of, that's more my observation.
I wanted to just reiterate again that I don't want this to speak for all LSOs, all legal service organizations, about what their costs are. This is very specific to the valuation that the Mayor's Office of Housing and Community Development has established for eviction defense cases in San Francisco. So just to be very clear, I wouldn't want this to be applied in any way, in any manner outside of that context.
Understood. I don't intend to make you feel uncomfortable about that. It's more musings, I guess, than anything.
If there are no further questions, I can put the proposed resolution on the screen.
Sure.
Okay. Should the committee concur with staff's proposal, passage of the following resolution is recommended. Resolved that the Legal Services Trust Fund Commission Homelessness Prevention Funds Committee recommends that the Legal Services Trust Fund Commission approve Eviction Defense Collaborative's 2021 to 2023 Homelessness Prevention HP2 Formula Grant Deliverables modification as described during the committee's meeting on August 31st, 2023.
So moved.
That was Eric.
Second.
Mhm.
Okay,
No, second.
thank you, Jim. Okay, Aklagi, Iskin,
Yes.
Mahoney. I believe Tammy had to step out for a minute. Schreiber,
Yeah.
Meeker.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Great.
Okay. And now our final agenda item is action on 2021/2022 to 2024 homelessness prevention HP3 deliverable revisions. This is also from Eviction Defense Collaborative. They request revising their HP3 competitive deliverables from 50 full scope rep cases to 25 full scope rep cases and 60 limited services cases. They also wish to include motion to vacate cases and clients who do not live in Bayview zip codes. Those were the original parameters of their application. They revised their deliverables once again based on San Francisco's Tenant Right to Counsel program, and they note the following. The majority of tenants served by this project have their eviction matters resolved with limited services or advice. This increases the return of investment and deepens the funding's impact. Additionally, for many tenants that seek more extensive services, often full scope representation is not the best fit because it causes a contentious engagement with the landlord. It is often in the best interest of the tenants to receive arbitration and advisory services along with referrals to our rental assistance program as needed to stabilize their housing. We've received referrals from community partnerships developed through the Bayview Clinic's community outreach efforts for clients who may not be residing in the Bayview zip codes, especially for motion to vacate cases, because these are typically not funded by San Francisco's Tenant Right to Counsel program and are often at the highest risk of imminent eviction. And just as a note, San Francisco's Right to Counsel program quantifies their deliverables, as we've discussed, and Eviction Defense Collaborative has matched their revised deliverables to the figures that this program uses.
Is this the kind of deliverable that the committee has to approve, or could the staff approve this?
So we felt that the committee and commission should approve this because it is a qualitative and quantitative change. It's not just a question of slightly reducing deliverables, but the change from full scope representation cases to both full scope and limited services. So for those reasons, staff brought this to the committee and the commission. Rocio, I'm not sure if you wanted to add anything to that. Okay, I guess not.
I got a question. When they say zip codes outside of Bayview, I mean, are they still talking about the San Francisco area? How far afield are they wanting to go?
So my understanding is it's still within San Francisco, but if Krista is still here and you would like, Jim, perhaps we can ask for some clarification on that.
Is she still here?
I'm still here, yes. Thank you. So a couple things. This is a 3-year project, and the first year was the pilot year of launching a satellite clinic in Bayview Hunters Point. to increase equitable access to eviction defense legal services to BIPOC tenants. As you probably know, the Bayview is very hard to reach, and those tenants do not have as much access to eviction defense legal services, but they are at the highest risk. They're disproportionately impacted by evictions and by homelessness. So through our outreach in year one, what we found out was what Jennifer just read, that, you know, many of these tenants were better served with limited services, not only to get a higher return on the funding and basically resolve the matter without expensive litigation, but also to maintain a positive relationship with the landlord and, you know, protect that relationship and their tenancy long term. We did a lot of outreach in the Bayview, community outreach, and some of that resulted in other tenants from adjoining zip codes in the Tenderloin and the Soma Mission area also wanting services. And some of those folks, you know, don't reside in the Bayview, or they reside in the Bayview and work outside of the Bayview and want to come to our office in the Mission. But we did propose providing, you know, we did propose receiving credit towards our deliverables for providing services in these adjoining zip codes because these were a result of our outreach conducted in the Bayview. We don't do much outreach otherwise. We're pretty well known, you know, at our Tenderloin Soma location. So I'm not sure if that answers some of the questions.
Yeah, that does. The only other question I'd have is, by expanding it to the Tenderloin and the other districts, which I'm sure need just as much help as Bayview, would that be restricting the number of people that you're getting from Bayview, or are you just not getting as many from Bayview? That's why you want to expand it.
It wouldn't restrict the number of
Okay.
people who serve in the Bayview. And what I would say is that another piece of our proposal is to include these motion to vacate cases which are not funded under Prop F, which is the law that supports, you know, tenant right to counsel. And the folks who are most affected and who need motions to vacate are low-income, disabled, BIPOC tenants. We have the stats on this, who are most impacted by default judgment, which means they've never had their day in court. They're just moving directly to eviction, mostly because they didn't understand their tenant rights. They didn't understand how to navigate the eviction process. And so by applying some of this funding towards motion to vacate cases, we are going to be fulfilling a very important part of this grant, which is increasing equitable access to eviction defense legal services for BIPOC tenants in the Bayview, and also we're asking for the adjoining zip codes. So I feel like it's really within the spirit of the grant and its intended goal and objective. It aligns with the Office of Access and Inclusion, you know, mandate as well. And it's very effective. You know, we have good success in these cases, and it keeps people housed, and it prevents homelessness, which is what the HP grant is for.
Well, I can say personally, having reviewed all the discretionary grants, one of the things that sold me on this one was the fact that the very convincing argument to the Bayview area need. I personally don't know San Francisco that well, but I was convinced by that argument. And as long as this isn't restricting service to Bayview, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think it makes a lot of sense. Sounds like you're providing great service.
Are there any other questions, or would you like me to put the resolution on the screen?
Sure.
Okay. Should the committee concur with staff's proposal, passage of the following resolution is recommended. Resolved that the Legal Services Trust Fund Commission Homelessness Prevention Funds Committee recommends that the Legal Services Trust Fund Commission approve Eviction Defense Collaborative's 2022 to 2024 Homelessness Prevention HP3 Competitive Grant Deliverables Modification as described during the committee's meeting on August 31st, 2023.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Sorry, that was Jim and then Eric.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Aklagi. Iskin.
Yes.
Mahoney. Schreiber.
Yep.
Meeker.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries.
Okay. I've got since we got a little bit of time here, and I'm going to take my prerogative as chair. There's a few comments I wanted to make that I couldn't really have time to make at the end of the last commission meeting since we were running late. And that has to do with observations of my 7 years on the commission. I made the comment at the full commission that new blood is good, that they're bringing in new people. And I think that's important, but also I think experience should not be undervalued. In particular, last year, I was really disappointed that they didn't renew Rich Reines, basically because of the excellent leadership he provided during the Appendix I review. And like to note that with my going off the board or the commission and with Christian going off the commission, I don't think there are any commissioners left that actually served on the working group during the Appendix I review. Is that your read of that, Christian? Yeah, and there were a couple of things that happened during that I think other members of the commission ought to know, at least in my opinion, had a big impact on me. And one is, and especially given the fact that the executive director of the bar, which we had outside comments on earlier today, was the same executive director during the Appendix I review as we have now. The first thing, and there were four things really that came out of that Appendix I that I felt were very important. 2 bad things and 2 good things. On the bad things, it relates back to the first hearing we had in Sacramento. And during that, staff was asked to do a presentation that I guess was of client data that was supposed to show that, I think was supposed to show anyway, that we were underserving minority communities in the state. That is a comparison of the racial ethnic breakdown of clients served was compared to the ethnic and racial breakdown for the state as a whole. And it showed, at least according to that analysis, if I remember correctly, that we were underserving minority communities. I'm sure you remember that, Christian. The point I made at the time was why that analysis was made, what point was trying to be made, because I'm sure the staff didn't do it on their own. I know Stephanie Choi did not ask for it, so I'm presuming the executive director asked for it. And it was a completely inappropriate analysis because they were comparing client data to state population data. Well, a lot of the things that our money goes to representing are things like housing issues, like this particular committee. Well, if you're serving, I made the example that if you're serving one ethnic minority family, such as Latino or Hispanic, and that family consists of a husband and a wife and 4 kids, and you serve 2 elderly white couples for housing issues that has a household of size 2, then if you're looking at client data served, it shows that you're overrepresenting whites compared to minorities because you're serving 2 whites compared to 1 minority. But if you look at the household size, you're serving 4 whites compared to what did I say? They had 4 kids to 6 minority members. And the thing is that the population data, the census represents the entire population. The client data does not represent the entire household. It represents just one particular client. So it's completely inappropriate analysis, at least as far as housing goes. I would argue is an inappropriate analysis for things like government benefits and income maintenance suits that carry on. So why that analysis was presented, I do not know, but it was very disturbing to me that somebody would want to present during the Appendix I an inappropriate analysis that tended to show that the commission was being racially biased in terms of how the money was being used for representation. That was disturbing to me. The other thing that was disturbing is that a consultant was hired. I presume that consultant was hired by the executive director as opposed to the board of trustees. And that consultant recommended that the commission should be abolished, that all of the funding decisions should be handled by staff, which we had lots of qualified legal services programs testify to that proposal, all supporting the idea of the commission. So then the consultant's next advice was, well, the commission should only be a maximum of 8 members, because according to this consultant, they consulted the organizational literature that said the most efficient organizations are a size of no larger than 8. Well, I went out and looked at what he cited. He was citing primarily this book here, Decide and Deliver, which I checked out. It's basically written by 3 people that are officers in Bain and Company Global Management, presented very little data. They weren't academic scholars. And basically what they were saying is that the best working group size is 8 or smaller for making complicated working group decisions. And if you look at our commission, basically our subcommittees like this are around size 8. If you look at the commissioners and the staff that are involved, not the entire commission. And as a matter of fact, I went out and looked at, there are every state plus Puerto Rico and DC have an IOLTA statute. And these IOLTA statutes are administered in various ways. Some of them are from bar commissions like ours. Some of them are from judicial type commissions like the Judicial Council. Some of them are completely independent commissions, independent of the bar or of the court system. But I looked at the 20 largest states who have budgets similar to what ours were, and none of them had commissions the size of 8. Most of them were at least twice that size, and closer to what we have is like 18. So again, I questioned what was the agenda here. I was very concerned, and at least I was glad that we had large support from the provider community for keeping the commission on. And now that the commission has new legislation, we've been immortalized as size 18, which is good. So I really questioned those 2 outcomes. On the other hand, there were 2 outcomes of the appendix I review that I think are very good. One is that the consultant did observe that our way of handling discretionary grants, and at that time, the only discretionary grants we had, I think, were partnership grants, the bank grants, and in particular focused in on the bank grants, in that we did not have scoring rubrics like the Department of Justice has, like the National Institute of Justice has, which I've had experience in getting those kind of grants. And we've moved towards creating scoring rubrics, and I think that was a fair criticism, at least now that programs have a better understanding of why they don't get the discretionary grants when they don't. The other observation was that a lot of our policies and procedurals were just past practices that were in the memory of staff. They weren't written out. And I think we've come a long way in terms of actually formalizing these rules and regulations through the work of the Rules Committee. And I think that was a valid criticism of the time. So those are my 2 observations. That was my soapbox speech. Feel free to put it in the minutes, but if you do put it in the minutes, put it under my name. I want to make sure all of these opinions are mine and not those of the subcommittee, but I stick by them. And so with that, I bid you all adieu. It's been fun working with you. My last day on the commission, I guess, is September 21st, I guess. So
I've asked for 4 emergency meetings of the commission before September 21st.
If I may, I just wanted to say thank you, Jim. I've enjoyed working with you as chair. I know that we have a coincidental connection through UC Irvine. I've learned a lot from you, so thank you. And I'm glad that we still have you for one more bank grant committee meeting.
Yeah, next week. Well, all I can say is go Anteaters, zot, zot, zot.
Yeah, both of you guys will be sorely missed. You've done a great job on the commission. It's been great working with you. So this is not, Chris, is this your last meeting?
I don't think so, but it might be my last subcommittee meeting. I thought we had one more care court meeting.
Maybe.
But I confess I'm not totally sure.
I'm so sorry. This is not related to Jim and Chris's tenure on the commission, but I did want to note that Kevin from CCWRO has his hand raised again. Jim, I don't know if you want to
Sure.
hear a comment.
Yeah, I remember those days when we had that proposal and we had to fight it back, and we all worked to stop it. And thank you for all the work that you've done, Jim. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Kevin. Thanks.
Here, here.
Here. So with that, I guess we adjourn the meeting.
Thanks,
So-
everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you,
night.
Jim.
Good luck for the next HP chair.
Yeah. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.